Hello and welcome to the WildWestGamer. I am the WildWestGamer and you join me here doing my first current generation video game review for Killzone number 2. Not Killzone number 1 for the PlayStation 2, which probably would have been the most obvious place to start. That's because Killzone number 2 represents, for me personally, the first time that Sony realised what they had with the PlayStation 3, which I think is a special benchmark because Sony had probably been a company which had been knocked around quite a lot. I think they started with the PlayStation 2 very much confident that they were going to own this generation like they owned the previous generation. I think there's no denying the PlayStation 1 was a really big console. Both the Japanese and the American markets really took to it. I know Nintendo's Japanese, but that's probably when the Nintendo franchise started to slowly fade a little bit. They started off very strongly in N64, perhaps ended a little bit weaker. They had some really good games, but unfortunately, with their next release, the GameCube, they'd lost something that I think they'd very much thought they probably would always have and didn't need to try to keep. Likewise, when the PlayStation 2 came out, it very much dominated the market. Unfortunately, when the Xbox came out, something happened with the Xbox which Sony wasn't expecting, and that was for them to bring out an incredibly powerful contender for best game ever, which was Halo, a game which was very, just revolutionary in almost every aspect: controls, story, graphics, gameplay, multiplayer. It was incredible. It was an absolute, blast, and shock to the system. So yeah, Sony never had anything like that. Sony needed something like that, and they tried to bring out Killzone. Unfortunately, Killzone suffered partly because it wasn't Halo, and also because it had been hyped up so much as the Halo killer that it was bound to fail. I mean, like I've said before, hype is one of those things which only works if you've got something to properly back that up with. They didn't, thus it failed. It fell apart, unfortunately. So yeah, that's a little bit of backstory to Killzone 2. Killzone 2, when it was announced, everyone remembers that infamous pre-rendered trailer they showed at E305 or E306, whichever one it was. Well, you know what? Yeah, okay, that wasn't true, and that pissed me off a little bit as well. But the fact was that they learnt their lesson. They finally got the tech they needed, they got the graphics they wanted, and they re-released the trailer with the in-game engine. And it just still looked fantastic. I mean, I remember the reception they got. It was amazing. People really took to Killzone 2. I think it was because this was Sony's answer to Halo. Now, when Killzone 2 did release, it still didn't have what Halo had. Halo has the Halo factor. It's the whole relationship between Chief and Cortana. It's the whole way the game plays. It's just incredibly fluid and dynamic. And it has this massive universe behind it as well. This massive, entirely realised universe dating back, thousands of years before the Halo games, as well as, hundreds of years afterwards in some cases, in respect to the Forerunners. Sorry, not hundreds of years. I mean, hundreds of years before, after our time. Now, during the present. That's what I mean. So, yeah, the whole Halo thing was always going to be something that Sony was going to have to try ridiculously hard to overcome. Unfortunately, they couldn't. But Killzone 2 is special, not because it was trying to beat Halo, but because it was the first time in my mind, and from the mind of a lot of other people, a developer finally realised what the PlayStation 3 could do. And the PlayStation 3 could be a powerhouse. It could be a console-defining powerhouse. Really, it could be. It made other consoles shake in fear. The Wii was out and the 360 were out, and both had very good games on them. The Wii was revolutionary in the aspect of its control. The 360 was revolutionary in the way that it had such a streamlined, well-fitted online multiplayer. The way it literally was a matter of just slipping across the bars on the dashboard of the Xbox 360, and there was all of your info for multiplayer. Your achievement points, your contacts, what they were playing, what they were doing, your downloads, everything. It was so easy, so streamlined. PS3 didn't have that. Whilst it came across as a console for a more mature gamer, something unfortunately they were still trying to contend with the 360, which both had the younger gamers in mind with releases like Viva Pinata and Banjo-Kazooie, it also very much had the mature gamer as well, with titles like Call of Duty, Bioshock, and Gears of War. Definitely. So PS3 really needed something, and of course, what was that? Well, that was to release Killzone 2, something that, because of its graphics, because of its outstanding visuals, drew people in. Here was the first time on consoles we'd seen something that was rivaling what was on PCs, and PCs have very much dominated the market as far as graphics went. PC games will always be ahead of consoles. There will be points where consoles perhaps just reach it and even go beyond that. But that tends to be when new consoles come out, and then very quickly after that, PC catches back up again and goes overhead. It's only the fact that PC cost so much to construct for that ultimate gaming machine that they haven't completely taken over already. But I'm sure that will change one day. Mark my words. But yeah, the PS3 finally got the game it deserved. It finally got Killzone, a game that had been in development for a long time. It was in development, from the later years of the PlayStation 2 into the early years of the PlayStation 3. Considering nowadays a lot of games get developed in under 2 years, this really took its time. But did it pay off? Well, yeah, it did. I mean, you've got a lot of games nowadays don't even bother to do this, but this game here, right on the front cover, a landmark piece of exclusive entertainment, 9 out of 10 PlayStation Gold Award. I don't think I could sum that up better even if I tried. That is what this is. It is explosive entertainment. It takes the concept of war, flips it on its head, slaps it across the face and says, no, you've been doing it wrong. This is what war is like. And this game uses the graphics engine it has and does not pull any punches. War in this game is brutal, it is horrific, it is intense. And that is what this game, is marketed on, being a very mature, gritty war drama. This is essentially a war film. This is Saving Private Ryan. This is the Saving Private Ryan of the console games. It took a genre we all thought we knew, and then it said, no, it's not, because when we do it, we're going to show you what war's all about. Everything in this game is so well, realised for the universe, for the Killzone universe. The lighting, the architecture, the character models, the character animation, the dialogue, the story. While the story wasn't very strong in Killzone 1, I mean, it wasn't bad, I didn't mind it. This one is a lot more focused. It's still a 4-player, it's not a 4-player, it's still a 4-team squad. But the outside characters, not as many, or at least not going on. It just feels like you very much know what's going on inside Alpha Squad. You know that these are the guys you need to rely on. There are plot twists, there are turns, there are things, that happen that you don't see coming from the beginning. You think you know who's going to come through it. Okay, you think you know who's going to not. And it does catch you by surprise. In fact, and I like that. I like that a game about war does that, because if it doesn't, then it feels like war is just something you can cheat. It's not. War has to have a cost, and in these games, it makes you feel that. The multiplayer aspect of this game is not as good as a lot of the other competition out there. It doesn't really matter so much because the single player is so good, and I like that. I like the fact that this first person shooter has a very strong, competent single player. Too much nowadays, and I am looking unfortunately at you, Call of Duty again. You slip up on your single player. You think it's just you think it's a trailer. You think it's something or a demo. You think these people just pick these up and go, yeah, multiplayer. No, I don't really care for multiplayer. I've got to admit it. I'm not antisocial. It's not like I hate playing online. It's not like I can't take the fact that I'm going to get killed. I just don't really want so much emphasis on multiplayer. It just doesn't do it for me, especially when you've got a game that looks like this. Why would you want to waste so much time on multiplayer? Give us it, yeah, sure. Stick it on another disc. If your multiplayer is brilliant and your single player is brilliant, you're going to get the high scores, you're going to get the sales. But hey, that's my thinking. Hey, I'm not in marketing, I'm not in game development, so what do I know, right? But return to Killzone 2. The story is very good. It's very focused. I mean, you certainly care for the characters in Alpha Squad. You really get to know them. Rico's still a dick from the first game. I don't know who writes his character dialogue or his attitude or whatever it is. Guy's got a real stick up his ass, and someone should try and get that guy to bend over so he can pull it out. Rico's never going to be a favourite of mine. I just think that he's too loud and brash. Alright, I get the point that you need someone in this game who's, totally, up in the Helghan's face, because the Helghast are a very intimidating enemy to face. They are essentially space Nazis, but if you think the Nazis are bad, check these guys out. These guys have, got some ugly skeletons in the closet. They are, they're fucked up. I'm not going to lie, they are horrific. And this game really does show you the cost of war, especially when you're an enemy that, that doesn't have morality to weigh it down. Which makes it all the more satisfying actually to fight them. There's nothing better than fighting a good enemy, and this game, really, really does that. But going back to Rico, yeah, I get the guy needs to represent, the steely determination of the ISA to take these guys out. But the guy's just a twat, just a massive douchebag. I mean, I could have stuck a cardboard template of my ass in there, and it would have been probably much more fulfilling than this guy. The rest of Alpha Squad, they were, really likable. I mean, Natko's, the battle-hardened warrior who's seen it all. And he's got a couple of your mama jokes in there, but he doesn't come across as nearly as annoying as Rico. I mean, if Rico could have been turned down and Natko given a bit more development, they would have felt like a more even playing surface for the entire team. I would have known a lot more about everyone. I mean, Natko, unfortunately, does perhaps fall back a little bit on the old character development. The bond between Sev and Gaza, who's like your buddy, that's really well done. Natko, who's like this guy, he's battle hardened warrior, who's seen a lot of battles, a lot of war, like Rico. He doesn't get nearly as much development, I feel. And likewise, Rico. Well, we've seen Rico in Killzone 1. We know all about him. He seems to be doing the same thing. Yeah, he's in charge. Yeah, he's leading this group. But he still comes across as a bit of a dick. You can't work out why, after being such a monumental tool, they don't go, hey, you know what, we should give this guy Sev, perhaps we should give him a field promotion or something, fucking general, because if this is seriously the shit we have to deal with this guy Rico, I mean, Christ, doesn't say much for the rest of your army. And this guy's in special operations, right? This guy's in special tactics. Jesus Christ, that fucking entry exam must be easy as shit. I mean, he probably didn't even turn up. They've already just passed his ass. So yeah, after that rant, that's it really. I mean, the game's negative are that the controls are very weighted to make you feel like you're actually a person. Too many times you run around with light machine guns, swinging them around willy nilly like you've got a cap gun. Now this game makes you know you're carrying that, and it also punishes you by saying, if you want to carry this, you ain't carrying nothing else. You want to carry a rocket launcher, you ain't carrying nothing else. You can't choose between carrying like you could in the next game. You can, in Killzone 3, you can carry an assault rifle, a special weapon, and a pistol. In this game, you carry pistol or an assault rifle, or any other weapon. That's it. That weapon slot, that main weapon slot, really is everything. And that's quite cool because it makes you think tactically. It goes, I'm going to get 3 shots with this rocket launcher. That means I could perhaps take out 3 guys each shot. Or I could fluff 3 times and mean that I'm then left with my pistol. So it makes you think very, carefully. It also makes you think, even if you pick up something like a shotgun, you go, well, what's the level going to be like ahead? It could be, it could all be tight inside spaces, or it could be, we could come out of this freaking epic battlefield, then I'm screwed. So, the game is really good, it makes you think tactically, it makes you think a few steps ahead, or it's just done for pure realism, which could be another reason. I personally like either reason. I like thinking tactically about what's ahead. I also like feeling like I'm really in the world. Character animations are some of the best you'll ever see in this game. Absolutely fantastic. You clip someone in the foot, you clip someone in the arm, you clip someone in the shoulder. You've hit them there because the animation reacts so well. Even when guys are just running, sometimes they'll trip and stumble on loose ground. The way they barrel roll over cover or barrels, I was about to say. The way they'll react if they get hit by a grenade. There is ragdoll effects, but then there's there is mocap animation, and sometimes it can look either way. But to be fair with this game, little things like that you forgive just because of the graphical fidelity. I mean, I know you should never judge a game on its graphics, and I'm the first person, I've said a couple of times, things, it's quality over clarity. But at the same time, you know what? This game deserves it. The fact it improves on everything from Killzone 1, as well as, gives you this breathtaking game, it's really good. I do apologise also for some reason, PS1 and PS2 games, you can really, you can leave on the brightness my TV settings normally run at, which is 44 out of 100. But this thing, I've turned it down to like 17. It's still really bright, which is really bizarre for a game that consists of a lot of browns, greens, blacks, and greys. So I do apologise for that. I wish you guys could see more footage. You can see a little bit though. I'm not going to be offended if you guys go and check out gameplay footage somewhere else. Please do. It is definitely worth trying it. If you're unsure about this game, you don't want to take my word for it, go and have a look. But this game is beautiful, really brilliantly looking, and it's the fact that I think it's the fact that this game shows war in such an intense fashion, which is why I recommend it. If it looked crap, if it didn't look very good, I'd probably say, and if particle effect, if the explosions weren't very good, I'd probably say don't bother. Go somewhere else. And there's no point in seeing, something that, just, again, sort of half-assed warfare. I like games which do something new. This game does something new by showing you the intense brutality of war, and that needs to be represented. This game needs to exist. It's an 18 for a reason, alright? Some of the Call of Duties are 15s. Yeah, that says a lot, alright? This is a game, Call of Duty, the game that prides itself on being the war game, the main one. No, it's not. You need to have mature games which deal with the issues of warfare. What's it saying about? Alright, it just says contains strong bloody violence. I was hoping it was going to say, I was going to go into a bit more detail than that. But yeah, strong bloody themes is fair, actually. There was a lot of really strong violence in this. I am going to do a video about my views on certification on games and, them getting into the hands of young adults. I know I did a violence in video games one, which was that was me dealing with how violence isn't the reason for people wasn't doing bad things. So I am going to do a slightly different one, perhaps tomorrow or maybe even today. But this game, this is very much directed at mature gamers, and that's really good because there was that time a couple years ago where I was really worried with the advent of Move and Connect and all of that they were forgetting about us, the hardcore gamers. Well, I know this came out before then, but this certainly is one of those reasons why you should stand up and say, no, we need mature games. We need games like Killzone 2 because they represent, really important themes and issues. If I play this game and then someone says to me, well, Jay, do you think warfare's fun? You want to go join the army? I'd be like, no, screw that. I don't want to go anywhere near that shit. This game makes you realise what war is about, and it makes you realise how hostile and brutal it is, and it makes you realise you don't want to be part of that. There are no kill streaks in this. Multiplayer, I think you get kill streaks, but in the single player, it's not really breezed over. It's not something that they just glide over and gloss over the fact that, war is hell. This is a really brutal game. And yeah, you really do see how, characters like Vasari, really, do play on his people's paranoia and really do, basically use them as instruments, as tools of war to accomplish what he wants, which is essentially genocide. And then when you realise that the only way to defeat that, to defend yourselves against that genocide, is to kill, is to invade people's homes. Now, you never see civilian deaths, which I'm thankful for. I don't think necessarily that we need that in games. If you can do it well with real emotional impact and meaning, okay, fair enough. I can deal with that. But this game doesn't have that. But you know that in the context of the story there will be a lot of civilian casualties. We're talking about a planetary scale invasion here, and yeah, it does. It just really drives home how devastating war is. You'll see Helghan from the air, you'll see it from orbit, you'll see it from the ground, and it is devastated by this war. This is really a hell war. Rockets flying everywhere, artillery, tanks, everything. Everything gets used on this planet, and you fight through some devastated areas. So that is really what my opinion is of Killzone 2. It is the ultimate war game, both in the fact that it is so exhilarating and adrenaline pumping, as well as it is so brutal and harsh. It's not a game I recommend because of its graphics, though its graphics do play a very key instrumental part in it. The graphics part is more for the fact that this game, it represents an importance in this game being when they finally realised what the PS3 was capable of. So I hope you guys see what I'm getting at with Killzone 2. there are better games out there. There are better first-person shooters out there as far as, you know, streamlined gameplay goes. But for, you know, an experience you aren't going to forget, and for an experience which really makes you feel like, yeah, I was a soldier in that game, I would recommend Killzone 2. There are negatives. The multiplayer is not very strong. Rico's a dick. And the story perhaps loses momentum near the end. I think it's because you've done so much, you've been to so many different locales near the beginning of the game, that it just starts feeling a little bit, okay, you know, are we making any ground here? I'm not sure really, you know, what we're pushing at, you know. So there's that. But that could just be me, you know. So yeah, I'll let you guys make your own minds up, hopefully, by actually getting the game. You can get it now very cheap and pre-owned. A big thing I wanted to do with these videos was to be the guy that said to you guys, in this time of economic strife, or whatever you want to call it, in this, you know, during the depression, during the recessions, whatever it is they're calling it now, I want to be that guy who says to you, you know what, you can pick up good games. You haven't got to go out and blast $60 on, you know, the newest titles. Those things are going to devaluate. You know, they're going to go down in price eventually. Why not hold off, wait until the money goes down? Because we all need to save cash, right? We all got to, you know, watch our wallets. Games can be found like this. If you've never played this game, you can pick this up for. If you get stores at the right time, if they've got promotions on, you can get this game as low as £5. I'm not BSing there. You can seriously get this game as low as that price. It's a steal at that price. You know, perhaps you can get it part of a multi-deal. You know, three for two, or, you know, two for the price of the cheapest, the most expensive one. I don't know, whatever the deals they're running nowadays. When you can get it online, I expect very cheap. But it is worth to pick up if you're a shooter fan, if you're a first-person shooter fan, you're a war fan, you're a sci-fi fan. This is sci-fi. I would consider it sci-fi, military sci-fi. Then yeah, pick this game up. You know, it really is good. I doubt there's a lot of PS3 games that haven't tried this game, but if you haven't, or if you're new to the console like I was a couple of years ago, get it. Really do get it. I would recommend it. You'll enjoy it. And if you don't, so what? You've only lost like what? A couple quid, you know, a tenner at the most. I know I was just preaching then about me watching your wallet, but what would you rather? Lose, 50 quid on a brand new game, or this on a second hand one, which I'm sure you could go and probably swap for just as equally good or poor a game, again. So I hope that made sense, guys. I'm sorry, I'm sorry if I lost it a bit there. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Like I say, I've noticed that the viewings are going up. Thank you very much. I do try to leave comments on the actual channel, just letting you guys know what I'm planning, what I'm up to, and how grateful I am that you guys are taking the time to watch this. And also, apparently, I've been given a heads up that I will have, people watching this who I am aware of. I have tried to keep the secret from my friends. This is something I didn't really want to brag about to my friends. I'd like to see how many of you, the general public, how many of you share my ideas and thoughts. But apparently 2 of my friends have found out. So if you're watching this, you two, you know who you are. This is a shout out to you, you cheeky gibbons. And I hope you liked what you saw. To both of you, I expect doesn't make a lot of sense, because I know one of you has a Wii and a PC, the other one of you doesn't really game. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you watched me talk about video games. And yeah, to the rest of you guys, to the YouTube community, thanks very much for watching. I just pulled a bit off my trousers. That was not clever. And yeah, I will see you guys later on. Thanks for watching. Do pick it up and try it out. It is a really cool game. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Gonna have another video up soon, hopefully. And yeah, until then, see you guys later. Ciao.